Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the full card of fights for UFC 291, Poirier versus Gaethje 2. So without further ado, let's get to our first fight on the card. So in our first fight, we have in the women's flyweight division, we got Miranda Maverick versus Priscilla Cachoeira. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going Miranda Maverick, high confidence to beat Priscilla Cachoeira. I just think it's a stylistic matchup that favors Maverick pretty heavily. Obviously, Maverick isn't on necessarily the best momentum, but I still think it's a big stylistic advantage in her favor here. Cachoeira grappling still pretty bad. Has lost a fighter that Maverick has, beaten him before. And yeah, Cachoeira really just kind of got a hope to sprawl and brawl, but I don't think her takedown defense is all that good. And I don't think her grappling. I think her grappling defense is even worse. And it's not like Miranda Maverick has a history of being chinny or chin, so her chin should hold up pretty well, and she should be able to get to the ground. And I think the gap between their striking, the gap between their grappling is much huger than the gap between their striking. And I think Maverick should be able to get to the ground and should be able to thoroughly dominate her in that facet of the game, wear her down in the first round, then tap her out in the second round. So in this one, I have Miranda Maverick via second round submission. Now to our next fight, we have in the welterweight division, we got Matthew Schnellberger versus Uros Medici. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going low confidence Uros Medici to beat Matthew Schnellberger. And I hear a lot of people saying, oh, Schnellberger got the size advantage and he's going to wrestle. But Schnellberger has really never used his wrestling to all that great success. He has had little moments, but I'm like, let me look at a fight. Like, look at the Jake Matthews fight in particular. Don't fully quote me on this one right here, but I think I'm pretty spot on with this one. But most of his control time in that fight came from hurting Jake Matthews. I think when he actually scored takedowns or scored a takedown, he only got like 10 seconds of control time, 15 seconds of control time here and there. And that was similar in other fights. But versus when he rocks his opponent, then they might be down a minute trying to recover. But when the moment they get their senses back, they pop right back up. So his wrestling, not that he's not that consistent with his wrestling or that great with his wrestling. So he's not that active with it. His control time is not that, his control game not that good either. So what is he really gonna do with that? I guess. And so far I haven't really seen him do real good against a striker. I see him do well against Nick Diaz's friend, who didn't belong in the UFC. So he starched him. I don't know what he's supposed to be. He's supposed to be a knockoff Nick Diaz or something, like a real bad knockoff of him. But yeah, he hasn't really fought much strikers. We have seen him get outstruck by Alex Morano, seen him get outstruck by Chaos Williams. So it's not like he has a clear track record of outstriking people that are kind of fall into the category of strikers, or at least approach him as a striker. I think Uros Medici's striking technically is just up there with those guys. And also, I think it will help him that Schnellberger kind of just a headhunter, like a guy that likes it, knows he has power, loves the fact that he has power, and a lot of times looking for that kill shot all the time. And I feel like Uros Medici is a more technical striker. I think the size is the issue for me, to be honest here. But I do think Uros Medici, with his frame, will be able to fill into welterweight pretty decently, despite it being on short notice. I think that speed will help him be sharper, but be faster. And I think this will be a very close competitive fight. I think Schnellberger's power will definitely show here, but I think ultimately Uros Medici will be the more consistent striker, the more active striker, put a more volume, be more accurate, be more consistent, and be more purposeful instead of just looking for that one hitter quitter, and ultimately outstriking Schnellberger to a decision victory. So in this one, I have Uros Medici via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the flyweight division, we got CJ Vergara versus Vinicius Salvador. So CJ Vergara, Vinicius Salvador, flyweight division. How I feel about this one right here is I'm going average confidence CJ Vergara to beat Vinicius Salvador. I feel like this is just part two of his last fight. Vinicius Salvador got a little bit more cardio, but he's less dynamic. Good, another fast starter kind of, but not the best cardio type guy. Like I said, he got better cardio than the last opponent, probably a little bit more durable than the last opponent, but not as dynamic. Like most of his strikes come in with the hands. He ain't really been mixing up too much. I'm not saying that all the strikes, but he's mostly hands. Not saying that's all he is, but he's not necessarily as explosive as Douglas Da Silva. Oh, is that dude named Da Silva? I think it is Da Silva, but either way, he's not as explosive as his other opponent, but he can extend himself just a little bit longer, I guess. And he doesn't just completely gas out in the second round. But I think CJ Vergara should be able to take him out of the first round and should be able to grind out I'm gonna say this. I'm like a third round TKO. No, I'm gonna say decision victory here for CJ Vergara. Be to take him out of the first round, ground out a decision over Vinicius Salvador. Salvador probably looking pretty good in his best round probably been the first round, but CJ Vergara, typically as he does, coming on in the second and third round and being able to grind out a decision over Vinicius Salvador as he fades. And also Salvador really doesn't have much grappling either. So like he a striker, not as good of kicks as his last opponent. and even less grappling, but a little bit better cardio. So pretty similar. Some strengths and weaknesses differ between the two guys, but I feel CJ Vergara has enough experience fighting this type of fighter, and I think it'll help him in this one. Don't think he'll have that scary moment he had in the last fight, but still gonna see probably be a rough first round, but he's gonna rally and get a decision victory over Vinicius Salvador. So in this one, I have CJ Vergara via decision. Now to our next fight we have in the welterweight division. We got Jake Matthews versus Darius Flowers, and how I feel about this one right here is I'm going low confidence Darius Flowers to beat Jake Matthews. And yeah, and this one I just think Darius Flowers is one of those guys that got sleeper talent. I'm not gonna say he's gonna go all the way to the top of the sport, but I do think for sure he will have enough to go past Jake. I'm not gonna say for sure, but I do think he has enough to get past Jake Matthews. So am I saying he can go to the top of the sport? I'm not saying it. Will he be in title picture? I can't say that right now, but winning this fight will certainly help. But I think where he at, and when we have seen the glimmers we have seen from him, I think is enough for me to lean to him, low confidence to beat Jake Matthews. I feel like he's gonna be more adjusted to the weight class now. Strength gonna be in there. I feel like training at the MMA lab, he's gonna patch up the holes in his game, and I think he's gonna be able to win these exchanges and inside, make it rough, make it scrappy at times, be the more physical, stronger man, and really make it a fight and just outwork, cracking shots on Jake Matthews to shift the momentum of rounds. But I think it's gonna be a very hard back and forth fight here. But I think Darius Flowers' explosive ability, his power, the heavy hands, the Hulk strength he has, it's gonna make it interesting. Also, combining that with the fact that he's adding the technical aspects or fine-tuning the technical aspects at the MMA lab. And I like I said in Quick Pick, I feel like he could have a Jerry Cannonier-like transformation. Like once he finds his weight class and he finds his nutrition, just as Jerry Cannonier did at the MMA lab, and you see how he's still, at the top of the heap at middleweight or among the top of the heap at middleweight. I can see similar from Flowers. I'm not guaranteeing it, but that's why it's low confidence, but I could definitely see it. And I feel like he should be able to have enough just to get past Matthews and show those new wrinkles, show those new improvements. And even like you saw from like a fight prior to coming to the Contender Series, we saw how his body had transformed. Like, he already making the process. So I'm expecting an even better looking Flowers coming in now. Better looking and improved technically and overall physically, and come out there and show it. But I think it's going to be a scrappy back and forth fight. But I think Flowers will be able to get these big dynamic moments with takedowns, land these big shots, probably rock Matthews and throw him off course, probably put Matthews on the defensive, and also throw some flurries in there. Just make it a very scrappy fight and get his hand raised in a decision victory. So in this one, I have Darius Flowers via decision. Now to our next fight we have in the middleweight division. We got Roman Kopylov versus Claudio Riberio. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going average confidence Roman Kopylov to beat Claudio Riberio. And average confidence here. Claudio Ribeiro hasn't really shown me too much. He got power, he got some heavy kicks and whatnot. And that could be all he needs. Some heavy hands and heavy kicks could be all he needs potentially. But I'm definitely liking the evolution and the streak Kopylov is on, and seeing the improvements in him and that confidence that comes with winning and improving and streaking. I think that's going to help him here. And also the fact that he has had more time to fight at middleweight. And also I think even at the worst you could say, you could calculate this fight. The worst you could calculate this fight are, you're heavily in favor of Claudio Ribeiro. And like you're heavily in favor and biased of Claudio Ribeiro. You had to say this is at the very least a competitive fight. Generally, it's the obvious gonna say, Kopylov is the better fighter and this and this and that. But say you just heavily leaning, I'm making words up. Heavily leaning to Claudio Ribeiro for whatever reason. Maybe you train with him, maybe that's your friend, maybe you're just a fan, maybe Brazilian, who knows? At the very least, very least, this is a competitive fight. And I feel like Roman Kopylov can extend Claudio Ribeiro out of the first round. And Claudio Ribeiro so far has not shown to be exceptional beyond the first round. Like he seems to drop significantly. His skills and his danger level significantly drops beyond the first round, even against mediocre competition. And that has not yet been patched up in this game, or has not shown to be patched up. And I think Roman Kopylov is good enough to extend him out of that first round. I feel like Ribeiro can definitely, turn some ties in the first round, at least turn some heads, and maybe he should be the favorite, or maybe this fight should be closer, maybe this and that. But I think at the end of the day, I feel Kopylov is good enough to take him out of that first round. And then I think we start to see Ribeiro start to fade, and Kopylov start to really turning up in the second round, and then really turning up in the third round is Claudio Ribeiro fades with each minute beyond the first 5 minutes. And I think Kopylov stops Claudio Ribeiro in the second half of the third round. So in this one, I have Roman Kopylov via third round TKO. Now to our next fight we have in the heavyweight division. We got Derrick Lewis versus Marcos Rogerio de Lima. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going Marcos Rogerio de Lima, low confidence. And I think to stay in the weigh-ins gives me even more reason to be low confident. I'm not going to pick Derrick Lewis for sure, but it gives me even more reason to be low confident. I was already low confident before, still low confident, and that's not shifting. Derrick Lewis come in, he looking good on the scale. I don't know if that's going to help him or not. Winning, showing improved aesthetics, or is it going to translate to improved skills or improved technique? We don't know. But nonetheless, he's getting up there in age. He's skidding, and he's never really been a super technical fighter. So when people start to figure you out and you start to get older, and you don't got the technical advantage to make those adjustments, it's kind of hard to get back in there. But luckily, he's going in with Marcos Rogerio de Lima, who isn't really the most technical fighter himself either. But one thing on Derrick de Lima's side is he has shown a sturdy chin, and Lewis kind of I don't know if that tone his body up is going to somehow make his power go away or to shift his power. So I have seen guys have knockout crazy power and they try to get toned, try to get a little bit pretty, and all of a sudden they turn into volume punchers and accumulation instead of one punch power punch. Like if it's not broke, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Should have kept the chubby Lewis, the chubby Kung Fu Panda build, and just improved on his technique. But who knows? Maybe he'll be faster and have even more knockout power. But we don't know. But historically, when guys start to shift up their builds, typically doesn't, especially late in their career, it doesn't really help them. It just take away their original advantage. But yeah. But enough about Derrick Lewis. I feel like Marcos Rogerio de Lima is in a good place right now. He's on a good streak right now. He's doing well. Good for him. He has never been knocked out. Has shown a pretty sturdy beard. Bad for him. He doesn't have the greatest pace either. So Derrick Lewis can potentially go to a decision with Marcos Rogerio de Lima. And Derrick Lewis, I think in the UFC has never lost a decision. So we never know. And maybe the judges and the organization and the powers at hand love Derrick Lewis and they're going to shift it to him. He wins an ugly split decision that maybe he should have lost, or maybe he wins closely. But yeah, it's a lot to not like about this matchup. But the thing I do like is that de Lima does have a pretty sturdy chin, never been knocked out. Never really been dropped like that, at least in the UFC. And riding that good momentum. I'm not going to say he submits him, but I'm going to lean more so like a TKO, like second round TKO. Just really just accumulating the damage on Derrick Lewis, taking the shots to continue to press him, walk him down, land big shots. Probably look to try to grapple a little bit, but nonetheless, keep Derrick Lewis uncomfortable, stay on top of him, and eventually wear him down and get him out second round. So in this one, I have Marcos Rogerio de Lima via second round TKO. Now to our next fight we have in the welterweight division. We got Trevin versus Gabriel Bonfim. And how I feel about this one right here is I got Gabriel Bonfim, high confidence to beat Trevin Giles. I think Trevin Giles is a solid fighter, but he has big defensive gaps or defensive weaknesses, defensive lapses or mental lapses out there. And I feel like Gabriel Bonfim has a more composed offense, and he's the more complete fighter. But definitely could see him, showing good moments in the first round. But ultimately, I think that's going to fall apart, as it typically does when he fights elite competition or other standout fighters, typically, or people that's more experienced than, or et cetera, et cetera. But ultimately, to sum it up, I think Giles can look good for a little bit, have his moments here. But I think ultimately, Gabriel Bonfim will be the more composed, more consistent, and again, composed, consistent. And eventually he'll be the finals openings and be able to put him away. And not to say that he's going to need to find an opening to win the fight, but he's going to find an opening to finish the fight. Like, he can win the decision against Giles. I would say I'm high confident he'll beat him, whether it be knockout, submission, or decision, or cut, or whatever it may be. I'm high confident in him to win. And by whatever means he wants to win. And I'm going to lean to like a second round submission for Gabriel Bonfim. I think Giles is going to, have his little moments. And the moment he starts getting a little bit ahead of himself, I feel like he's getting a groove going on. He's gonna drop his guard down a little bit. Bonfim's gonna catch him. He's gonna go out for a second, try to pop back up and end up in a submission and get put to sleep second round. So in this one, I have Gabriel Bonfim via second round submission. Now to our next fight we have in the welterweight division, we got Michael Chiesa versus Kevin Holland. And also our first fight on the main card. So how I feel about this one right here is I'm going Kevin Holland, average confidence to beat Michael Chiesa. You can kind of look back to Kevin Holland's, fights against Derek Brunson and his fight against Marvin Vettori, but those are bigger guys, like 170 versus 185, like 50-pound difference. If that was boxing, that'd be like a 12 division champion, like Nasu wasn't that me? I can't even throw a little bit of shade. I'm forgetting people's name, but hey, it'll come to me eventually. He's a superstar. I'll figure that. But yeah, in no way. With like 108 to 120 is like 4 weight classes, 4 divisions. So that's like 10 pounds or 12 pounds is 10 divisions or 4 divisions. I can't even speak right. But anyway, yeah, it's a big gap. Is all I'm trying to say. It's a big gap. In boxing, they act like that's the world. In MMA, like that's just one division apart. But that's 15-pound difference. And in actuality, Chiesa came from 55. He was a big 55er, but he was able to make 55. Probably still could make 55 if he struggled hard enough. But would he be good there? No. With the struggle to make the weight class, probably not down scale, probably give half himself up on the scale to make the 55 now. But I think it's possible for him to go back to 55. Holland could not make 55. If anything, Holland probably should start to, as he gets older, build up and become a truer middleweight, or maybe just a real big welterweight. But nonetheless, it's a decent size gap between the two. Even though they might look like they're around the same size, Holland is the bigger guy. He has 4 bigger guys. And the guys that have had success grappling, or at least in the UFC, have been guys that were at middleweight. And the fact that Chiesa is coming here has been inactive. I think Kevin Holland will be fresher in here. He's been more oiled because he's been working, whereas Chiesa is going to be rusty. And ultimately, Holland's BJJ should be able to hold him up in this fight. He's a black belt in BJJ as well. I think Chiesa will have success with his takedowns, but I think Holland will be active with his back, hitting with elbows, trash talking him, slapping him, back fisting him off his back, and making Chiesa uncomfortable in every position. Then he'll be able to find, go for his own submissions and probably use those to stand back up or reverse position. And then on the feet, like his grappling will definitely keep him in this fight. And then he'll be able to use, be able to work his way back to the feet or look for his own submissions. Either way, making Chiesa work at all points, threatening Chiesa at every point of this fight. Then on the feet, I think Holland is the much better striker and should make Chiesa very uncomfortable, especially going with a long, lanky guy with that speed and power that Holland has, and the technical advantage that he has, and the size advantage that he has, and the weight and all that stuff advantage that he has. And I think the shots of Holland and the unorthodoxness of Holland and the length of Holland will cause Chiesa to start to overreact to shots, and that will only motivate Holland to tag him up even more. It's not like Chiesa's a great counterpuncher or anything. So the moment we start shilling up and showing fear and overreacting, Holland's going to be to see an open lane to tee off on him. It's not like Chiesa's not some high IQ fighter who can fake getting hurt. When he hurt, he's hurt. Like he don't fake it. Ain't no high IQ to it. When that man's hurt, he's hurt. And ultimately, I think Holland's going to be able to again use the grappling to keep him in the fight. On the feet, find those opportunities, tag him up on the feet. And I think Chiesa is eventually going to welt heavily to the power of Holland, the volume of Holland, and the boxing of Holland. Now I think Chiesa shoots a poor takedown, or either it's a poor takedown, or he starts to wilt and like kind of crumble. And now I think Holland snaps on a submission, taps him out, probably like a guillotine, or probably really a Darius, a Darius. So I'm thinking like a second round Darius for Kevin Holland after teeing off on Chiesa and getting him to either crumble or shoot a poor takedown, give up his neck, and get tapped out second round. So in this one, I have Kevin Holland via second round submission. Now to our next fight, we have in the lightweight division, we got Tony Ferguson versus Bobby Green. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going lock confidence Bobby Green to beat Tony Ferguson. It is what it is. We are locked in. Well, I'm locked in. I don't know about y'all. Y'all not locked in. I'm locked in. At least for the prediction wise, I'm locked in for Bobby Green, and I'm not shifting that. So Bobby Green, lock confidence to beat Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson on like a 5-fight losing streak. Not to say that Bobby Green is at the best point of his career or whatnot, and he's riding like a 5-fight winning streak, and Ferguson riding a 5-fight losing streak. This is definitely a fight that, gives opportunities for Tony Ferguson, but ultimately, I don't really see the path to victory for Tony Ferguson. I feel like Bobby Green has very good submission defense for the most part, unless he's going in with Islam Makhachev, pretty good wrestling defense, pretty good BJJ defense. I feel like he's a much faster fighter, the heavy-handed, the more technical striker. I feel like Ferguson is awkward and he's busy, but he's pretty sloppy on the feet offensively and defensively. And now his chin not there as much anymore, or not really there at all anymore. And he was sloppy even in his prime when people were slicing him up. He was sloppy. He got dropped by Abel Trujillo like 2 times in that fight. Got dropped by like Lando Venata like 2 times in that fight. So it's not like he's been some guy that's been so clean, some clean technical fighter. It's just now that he's declining or showing decline or is decline. The same stuff that he got away with when he was in his prime is not flying no more. That's what happens. Like you have technical gaps. You think like I'm gonna be 50 years old and still be able to do this. Nah, you start the same things you got away with start getting you knocked out. And I think Bobby Green knocks him out. And I'm gonna say like first round. I think he's gonna be too fast for him. And Tony Ferguson will have those same big old gaps. Don't punch his head wide up in the air, getting caught with hooks. overhand, jabs in the middle, those 1-2s. And he's just not going to see the shots. Going to get the eyes swelled up very quickly, bust up very quickly. And I really feel like Bobby Green could even take him down and wrestle him if he wanted to. I think Bobby Green's submission defense is pretty solid. Should he do that? Probably not. I think he can mix him up on the feet and get him out of there. And that's what I'm predicting. I feel like, and also Ferguson's takedown offense has never been phenomenal, to be honest. And I feel like Bobby Green should be able to stuff his takedowns pretty easily, make this a striking match, and really put on a boxing clinic and get him out of there first round. So in this one, I had Bobby Green via first round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the welterweight division, we got Stephen Wonderboy Thompson versus Michel Pereira. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going average confidence Michel Pereira to beat Stephen Thompson. I don't know how the weight missing weight is going to help or affect the fight, or whether it hurts or helps Michel Pereira or hurts or helps Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. But I think up to this point, we only have like one bit of evidence, and that was against Darren Till, where he lost a close decision to Darren Till after Darren Till missed weight. I don't think no one else he fought, at least to my knowledge or my recollection, have missed weight. But so he only fought one guy that, to my recollection, that missed weight, and he lost. He's 0-1. So that's kind of a good sign for me, I guess. But ultimately, I'm going Michel Pereira here. I feel like Stephen Wonderboy Thompson has been like up and down, and even his last fight, he was kind of gifted at a win in a sense. Not to say that he could have had one if Holland actually fought a decent game plan. I think he could have won regardless, but it does put a damper on the fight. The fact that Holland did give up, very advantageous positions just to have a less bang bro fight that would favor Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. And matter of fact, I don't think it was a case like, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson's kick broke his hand. Holland broke his hand punching Stephen Thompson in the face and rocking Stephen Thompson. So it's not like, I broke your hand or arm with a kick. No, you broke your hand punching me in the face and rocking me because you hit me on top of my skull. But anyway, yeah, Michel Pereira's not even 30 yet. He still hasn't really hit his prime yet. Well, we don't know. He's been fighting for a long time, but I feel like he hasn't hit his best yet. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, we have seen his best. I don't think he's improving at all. He still has a very good shot here. But I think Michel Pereira is the younger fighter by like a decade, maybe a little bit more, because Wonderboy's 40, Pereira is 29. He'll turn 30 this year, so it'll be 10, but right now it's still like 11 until otherwise. And I think the unorthodoxness of Pereira and the willingness to throw whatever at times, it's going to throw Thompson off. And we have seen Thompson caught by a flying hook off the cage by Anthony Pettis before. And I can feel Pereira could catch him with some awkward stuff like that as well, because Thompson, like those karate guys or those kickboxer guys, well, karate more so. Karate point fighting type fighters, they like to keep their hands low. They like to back out with their hands low. And an unorthodox, explosive guy like Pereira could catch Thompson going back and catch that defensive mistake. Whereas because maybe other guys that aren't as explosive or aren't as quick and aren't as unorthodox and come in with like traditional entries, like he can time them and probably catch them with a kick, a little step inside kick and keep him at bay. But a guy like Pereira, he probably can step off line, come in with a blitz, step off the other side, come in blitz. He's so fast and so explosive. I think the unorthodoxness, the explosiveness, and the power of Pereira also being more well-rounded should lead him to a victory over Thompson. I think it's going to be a pretty competitive fight, but I think Pereira is going to catch Thompson with something funky, probably when Thompson least suspected, whether they're throwing punches at the same time, or he catches Thompson trying to do a step inside kick and is able to catch him like over the top or cut an angle and catch him. But either way, I think it's going to be something awkward and funky that he's going to catch Thompson with, and Thompson's not going to be able to fully recover, and Pereira's just going to be on him fast, landing ground and pound, and then TKOing him in that second round. So in this one, I had Michel Pereira via second round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the light heavyweight division in our co-main event, we have Jan Blachowicz versus Alex Pereira. Yeah, Blachowicz versus Pereira. How I feel about this one right here is I'm going average confidence. Alex Pereira to beat Jan Blachowicz. I feel like Pereira will surprise people here with his takedown defense and his grappling here. And I don't feel like Blachowicz ever was the greatest grappler person. I feel like he made a good, at least an improvement, and at one point it was his weakness, and he did make improvements in that. But obviously the Glover fight showed that he didn't make that big of an improvement. He made significant improvements and definitely was able to pick up some wins, to even beat Adesanya, beat some other guys using that grappling improvement. But ultimately, I think, still solid, but I think Pereira will be the surprise people, especially training with Glover, who holds the win over, the most recent win over Blachowicz. And I think he'll be able to benefit from that training alongside him, show that improved takedown defense, improved grappling. And also, unlike Adesanya, Pereira will be full, not be a fully fleshed into his 205 build, but he won't be in there standing on a weight scale with a full box of pizza in his hand. he'll actually be a 205er, probably coming in at matter of fact, he'd be coming into the middleweight fights at 225. So he might be coming in at 250. He might actually be a full-fledged light heavyweight. So we don't know. That man was coming in at 220 at middleweight. So matter of fact, he is a full-fledged light heavyweight. No ifs and no buts. That man's a full-fledged light heavyweight. And if he was coming in at 220, he probably like 230, 240. So that man's fleshed out. No ifs and no buts. But yeah, I think his grappling will be more improved than a lot of people expect. It'd also be a threat with some flying knees, some ripping to the body when you try to level change. And also, I think Blachowicz has a bad issue of coming in, swinging into range. And like Adesanya might be able to time him and catch him, but Adesanya don't have the same power and the same effect as Pereira, especially not Pereira now at this weight class of 205, fully fleshed into the weight class. I think Pereira will be able to catch Blachowicz coming in, swing in with his hands low, catch him with a big hook, drop him, and finish him. And I'm going to say first round TKO for Alex Pereira. I think he starches Blachowicz. I think Blachowicz comes out to a good start, mixing in the kicks well, but Pereira not really fazed by him too much and firing his own kicks back. Then Blachowicz going to try to, going to start feeling some of the power, going to try to force some clinches and stuff, but Pereira's going to be at a circle well, catch him with hooks and get off the, circle from the cage, then start sticking with the jab, sticking with his own kicks. Then Blachowicz getting frustrated a little bit, going to try to flurry in, to try to make some action for himself, trying to flurry in with some punches, get some punches off, and then also try to work his way to the clinch from that flurry. But Pereira's going to see it, fire that hook, knock him off his socks, knock him off his feet, probably finish with like a hammer fist. First round TKO, Alex Pereira. So in this one, I have Alex Pereira via first round TKO. Now to our main event, we have in the lightweight division for the BMF fake belt, we got Dustin Poirier versus Justin Gaethje. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going Poirier average confidence to beat Justin Gaethje. And yes, this is at high altitude, and yes, Gaethje is doing this and Gaethje is doing that, but Poirier is already one up on him. And I don't feel like Gaethje is necessarily that fighter who typically has that break you style. He kind of breaks you with his pressure to a extent when you are kind of broken. But if you come in there scrapping with him, he typically not a guy that's going to beat you in that war of attrition. He'll kind of break you down with damage instead of like a guy that is a cardio fiend that's on top of you going for like 20 takedowns, or a guy that's constantly going down and working you to the body. And that's not Gaethje. He'll try to shoot your legs up. So I don't feel like this high altitude is such a great advantage for him. And I feel like Poirier will acclimate very well. And Poirier has had a lot of fights. So, as a veteran, and he does well in these who knows, maybe the fact that's a title fight, he's going to choke, maybe. But I got good confidence in Poirier to beat Gaethje here. I feel like he's the more well-rounded fighter. He always has a win over Gaethje. And Gaethje might come in. Matter of fact, Gaethje is the better wrestler. He should probably be able to get takedowns, but what will he do with them? He hasn't shown great ground and pound. He really hasn't shown any BJJ at all. So he might be able to get some takedowns, but not going to be able to do nothing with it, not going to have good control either. And that's probably just going to waste his own energy going for that, especially in a 5-round fight. So I see Gaethje trying to be a little bit creative out to try and go for some takedowns and probably have some decent success, but not doing much with them at all. Poirier probably doing more off his back, hitting with punches, hitting with elbows off his back, probably trash talking off his back, probably doing some little comments while he's on the bottom and work his way back. And then start to get back up and then start to stalk Gaethje some more and tag him up, probably rock him. But yeah, I think Gaethje will come in the best he's ever been. Poirier come in probably the best he's ever been. Good competitive fight. Gaethje mixing it up, but ultimately just not gonna be enough. I think Poirier gets his hand raised again. I think we'll go some rounds, but I think Poirier is gonna turn it up in the later rounds and be able to put Gaethje out. I think Gaethje will do good to start and probably for like 2.5 rounds to do it pretty good. Still probably be a back and forth fight. But I think we'll start to hit that late third round, fourth round. I think Poirier hits a switch and then puts Gaethje away in that fourth round. I think he's going to start turning up, rock Gaethje, and Gaethje's going to have really nothing to go for him. He's probably going to start going for desperado takedowns, probably just be leaning over, try to hit with ugly overhands and stuff. And Poirier just going to be teeing off on him, tagging him up and not giving him no room to breathe. And I think Poirier puts him away in the fourth round. So in this one, I have Dustin Poirier via fourth round TKO. And that concludes my fight predictions for the full card of fights for UFC 291, Poirier versus Gaethje 2. And as always, thanks for watching.